Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to another episode of Justice for All Now. I want to wish all our viewers, especially all our sisters who are watching, a happy International Women's Day. And I'll share something with you. I don't usually celebrate this day because I don't think it's right to just have one day to celebrate womanhood. We are the world. We are 50% of this population and more. And to limit it to one day is a disservice to all of us. But I've seen the many beautiful programming and events. Right now, there's a Twitter storm going on Twitter with the hashtag choose to challenge, and asking women what do they, and others who support women, what do they choose to challenge in helping bring equity and justice for women. Our own teams are doing a Twitter storm right now in support of Uyghur women. We had a conference yesterday that was just amazing. We had people from South Africa and Canada and the United Kingdom and the United States come together and really speak about the atrocities that are being perpetuated against our Uyghur sisters. And so today we really wanted to carry on that theme and just have a show centering some women who have been doing amazing work in their own fields, who've been recognized for the work that they do. And there's such a wide variety of things that women are doing to uplift and support women, and by extension, children. And so I'm really excited today to have a guest who is here, who's committed her life to working on supporting women with children. Her name is Katherine Pohlidal, and she's the director of the Ruth Matthews Bourger Women and Children's Program in Misericordia University. And I probably butchered that, and she's going to come help me correct, if I made any mistakes. Welcome, Katherine. I hope she's on. Yay. Okay, there you are. This is excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And we're looking forward to working, listening to you and about your work that you've been doing as a clinician, a case manager, and administrator, both in clinical treatment settings and in higher education. So so tell us a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do. We want to hear more about your educational background and how you really got involved in the programming that you do.
Well, first, thank you so much for having me here today, and happy International Women's Day to you as well. I think I'll start by just saying that we're really proud to be here, and I'm representing Misericordia University. We're located in Dallas, Pennsylvania, in northeastern Pennsylvania. And we have a very special program embedded into our university known as the Bourger Women with Children program. We are a very distinct program. We're one of only 8 of its kind in the United States that helps to bridge the gap educationally for women who are single mothers, who are living at poverty or on the brink of poverty, access a 4-year college degree. And what's really unique about our program and what we're able to do at the university is to provide an opportunity for single moms to bring their children with them to the university setting so that they can attend school full time for up to 4 years to inevitably achieve not only that college degree that they've been dreaming of, but certainly to go on and pursue a professional career that will not only lift them out of the poverty level, but sustainably do so. So this is something that we've been championing and doing since 2000. Mm-hmm. It was the vision of Sister Jean Mazeros, who is the founder of the program and the Sister of Mercy. And her vision was to help originally the daughters of impoverished coal miners in this region. Okay. And so we're the modern day version of that now with our women and our children. And at this point, we are a program that supports 16 families on our lower campus located in Dallas.
That is so beautiful. And this reminds me of My cousin just was on Facebook the other day, and she had an art exhibition. I mean, she was on stage with four very esteemed artists and educators internationally. And then she shared a picture of her daughter sitting at the edge of the stage. And she said that she would not get off the stage. She said, "No, if Mama's here, I want to be here too." And so she's like, the show had to go on and the program had to go on, and so we let her just be there. But why do women have to wipe out the entirety of their being, their children, like such a precious part of their being, in order to get anywhere in life? Really reminds me of the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who went to a UN meeting with a baby in her, so tell us how are the children accommodated while the mothers are studying?
So you're bringing up a very important point, and one that I think what we're trying to do, and at least what I always say, is that we're trying to challenge the role of higher education. So we're talking about higher education right now in the United States, but really asking for higher ed to contemplate this. Why don't we change the landscape of it? Why don't we change the expectation of it? And so we can provide more accessibility for education for women that includes their children. So many women who are mothers out there in the world need to access education in order to not only help themselves, but their children as well. And so when you see a movement like that, when you see leaders bringing their children with them to the UN, I think it really speaks volumes to where we really need to go next. And so I think what my response to that statement would be is it shouldn't be a part of the equation to eliminate a portion of a person's life in order to succeed. You have to start to contemplate an inclusivity where children are accommodated. When our moms go to school full time, the children go to school too. So if they're school age, they go to the local school district, the Dallas area school district, a wonderful public school. And or if they're younger, then they go to childcare and daycare right in the area. So within 2 miles of our university, we have wonderful daycares that our children attend while mom's going to school too. So our homes are located on the lower campus, are also designed to accommodate community living environments. These are shared environments where women live together. They're all single moms. They bring their children with them, and the children and the moms live together in these homes. And so for many of the children in our program, they really start to develop a huge family relationship. They feel like the other children in the program are their siblings. And so it's just an amazing build of kinship and cooperation and the support that they give to one another that helps them to succeed at the end goal. And that's what you find. These powerful relationships are really the vehicle to helping drive the success of this program. So I think the answer is you bring the children with them, you bring them to school and bring everybody together so that everyone can weigh in and also succeed.
This is beautiful. I've seen similar models internationally work at the Save Our Souls SOS villages, where families, or especially mothers, most of them are widows or single mothers, that live together in a village, and then the village takes care of each other and the children. And so if the women need to work or they're studying, just a beautiful, beautiful concept. So what are some of the disadvantages? And honestly, I can relate this to my own personal life. So I've been a reporter for a while, and there were many, many times where I didn't have childcare, especially when we moved to a new city. I didn't have that safety net that I used to have where I lived, where I would have neighbors and trusted friends and mosque members that I trusted with my children. And so in a new place, you don't have that safety net. So what do? So there have been many pressers and press conferences and protests and all sorts of things that I've just taken my kids along, and people just got used to it, that, oh, if Sister Hena is going to be there, she's going to be there with her children. And they sort of all grew up and they learned so much. I can honestly say that some of these young people like as I see my children, and when they're talking to other young people, I think they've absorbed so much of the work within them that they can have mature conversations. And I think it's fascinating. It's great for the children's own ability to grow as well. But as we talk about that, I do want to ask you about some of the roadblocks or disadvantages that many economically disadvantaged young women face when trying to complete a college degree, and how the program specifically removes those barriers?
It's probably one of the most important questions to ask, because I think what you really do have to highlight are the barriers that poverty creates for families, and then the reality of that poverty. Mainly, the biggest goal for us is to address those three core areas that tend to be the biggest barriers: childcare and accessibility for affordable childcare, housing, stable housing that's supportive, and then transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to look at what are these big barriers that keep prohibiting people from moving forward and getting access to education, what we've done is we provide in our program something rather unique. Housing in our program is free for up to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to relieve the burden of rent so that moms can go to school full time and concentrate their efforts on their academics so that they can get that degree completed. So they get that, and then they get a lot of other assistance that we essentially wrap around the mom and the child for up to 4 years. So we do everything from making sure that if they're utilizing subsidies, which is a very important component of our program, so SNAP, childcare support. When our women go to school, they go full time, 12 credits or more a semester, plus they work on top of that. So they have to have a federal work study placement that we put in place that helps to make this whole thing affordable and that they become eligible for subsidies. Most of our families are homeless, home insecure, food insecure, haven't had a lot of good medical care. So what we're trying to do is take all of those gaps that poverty creates and close them back up. So that paves the road for them to succeed and move forward. And the only way to really do that is to comprehensively look at what are the needs of this family, and in a sustainable way, help them build back up to a place where once they earn that degree, it's going to work for them and they're able to sustain their success. So that's really what we have to do. And we have to do that all the time. This is a 365, 24/7 day operation. We never close, even through the pandemic, which I think we can all say has impacted women, and especially women of color, disproportionately. What is happening here, especially for single mothers, when you talk about taking your child to events, to school, to work, the reality is the more poor a person is, especially in the United States, I can highlight this, the more of a disadvantage you have into even recovering from this pandemic. So women who have been impacted the most are going to now struggle the most in terms of getting their bearings again. And in fact, even just re-entering the workforce, let alone education. So I think we really have to pay attention to this. And then I'm hoping that at some point it's going to help to shape some policy too, right?
Seriously. And that's where it becomes like, if you have these great programs, but that the policy doesn't change, then you get stuck in that cycle. I do want to ask you a question about specifically about the program. So what kind of degrees are some of these these women following, and do they study at the university itself, or so if you could answer that question.
Yes. So all of our families are full-time students at Misericordia. And so women who are interested in our program, who want to pursue their education, would apply to our university first. They all go to Misericordia because it's the program that's joined to our university and certainly supported by it. So once they're full-time students and they're accepted and enrolled, then they would move into our homes. And then that's when they begin that process of being in our program and going to school full-time. And they can select whatever major that they would like that we offer at our university. And then what we do is really encourage them to work collaboratively with our faculty, with our staff, so that they're making those sound decisions that lead to a degree that's going to serve them best in their future occupation. And we've seen a lot of success with this because 100% of our women who graduate through our program go on to directly into professional careers, and 80% of our women go on and achieve a master's degree or more. So you're seeing that once those roadblocks are removed and we create that path, they continue on and oftentimes exceed all of their own personal expectations, let alone having in some ways a life or a world that has diminished expectations around them. They definitely succeed and then show and demonstrate what that success will look like.
That's so heartwarming to hear. I wanted to also ask, is this limited to Pennsylvania state residents, or is this open nationally? Anybody who applies to the university and gets in and meets those criteria is able to be a part of your program?
Yes, so we're proud to say that we will accept moms from all over the United States. So we have moms that have come as far away as California and Montana to as close as Wilkes-Barre or Scranton in Pennsylvania. So we really encourage women from all over to really take a closer look and to see, if our program's the right fit for them. But we do prioritize placement for Pennsylvania residents first. And oftentimes, we will have a waiting list if we are completely full. We'll start working with those moms who are even waiting and making sure that they're accessing education or support until they can get to us. So, and the good news too is we're expanding our program. We're actually going to add another home this year, and we're going to bring our census up to 20 families. So I'm thrilled to say that we'll be able to support even more families in need going forward this fall.
So just doing a little bit of research before you came in. So it seems like in 2019, the state of Pennsylvania allocated $2.5 million to provide startup funds inspired by your program. Can you tell us what happened after that? Have other programs been replicated in other places, seeing the success of the Bourger program?
Yeah, we were thrilled to hear this, but Governor Wolf and the state of Pennsylvania announced the Parent Pathways Initiative in 2019, inspired by the model we have in our program. And after doing some site visits with DHS and the Secretary Miller from DHS in Pennsylvania, really advocating for families, and especially for single parents. And they did initiate this, and they started the process, but unfortunately it was suspended for now because of the pandemic. So we're really hoping that it's going to be reinvited in and hopefully will be installed again at some point in time. In the meantime, what we encourage our higher educational institutions to really weigh in and start thinking about ways in which they can contemplate helping parents succeed. And if that even means adding some adult services to their campuses, it's something to fully consider. And I'm really proud that Misericordia has really taken a strong lead in not only developing this program, but championing it to expand and to serve even more people in the United States.
That is so inspirational, and that's the exact sort of change. When we look at how hard it has become to compete in today's environment, where honestly, I remember a time where a few people would have a PhD. Now you look around and so many people, like it seems like there's a lot more degrees, a lot more people attaining those degrees, but it's often that economic strata that they're in is so differentiated. So the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer, and those in that upper strata of society are the ones who have these advanced degrees a lot of times. And so how are people supposed to compete in an environment like that? And so your program offers a solution that if could be replicated around the world, especially by universities who have such big endowments, like larger than some foreign countries.
Yes, exactly. Repurpose and really think about how you can strategize in a way where you're serving more families, then I think it makes a lot of sense. Like you're talking about, just the socioeconomic barriers alone could really prohibit so many people, especially single moms, from accessing education. And so what you're talking about is exactly right. You have that that socioeconomic split where you have so many people who are the working poor, who are in poverty, who don't have any contribution going in from family, going into education. So they're really doing it on their own, and they're on the brink. And so they're one financial setback away from falling into the poverty line or staying further in it. So yeah, I think we have to pay closer attention to how institutional awareness of how these models can be scalable and certainly replicated. And it would be my hope that we could do so in Pennsylvania and certainly across the country. I think it's a great response and a smart way to help more people get those college degrees that we're going to need.
Definitely. When you look at so you're also you have a degree in psychology as well, counseling. So when you serve these young women, what are some of the trends that you've seen, and what has helped? And with your background, what sort of things have been incorporated into the program that 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 defines your success? Because I know it has to be well thought out to get a result like that, that 80% are graduating and going on to further degrees as well. So could you tell us some elements that you have thoughtfully put into the program, aside from the rent and the housing that is absolutely something inspiring?
I think it's probably one of the most important questions to answer. Like, what are those critical ingredients that really help support this whole program? I think through my own experience working with college students and certainly as a clinician, what you realize is that poverty has a massive impact upon a whole entire family system. And so for us to sort of regroup and help that family, they often need support, mental health counseling. Oftentimes there's been trauma, sometimes domestic violence circumstances or situations. What we want to do is take that holistic view and offer any kinds of services within our community and our university that may be as amenities, ways that we can serve our families better. And so we start asset building. We start really looking at not just what mom needs to succeed academically, but what mom's going to need in order to thrive when she has that degree. It's not just a degree and it's not just a roof over their head. It's how do we take that person and help them self-actualize, really become the person they're destined to be. And so that takes a lot of thoughtfulness and time, and that's time is our gauge and our benefit, but also focusing in on the wellness of the child too. So we're looking at things like making sure they have food, making sure they have proper health care, whether it's vision or dental. A lot of times poverty pulls you away from those services, and so we want to bring them back. And then for the child, we want to make sure that it's not just access to education, but also we provide, for example, one extracurricular a year that we fund for each child of their special interest. So we've helped fund things like, you know, if a child wants to take art classes or they have a music class they want to take. We've also made swimming mandatory. So all children have to learn how to swim by the time mom graduates. Again, one of those life skills. These are the types of things, examples that I'm using that help to really build that family and build that child so that when they go forward, we've paid close attention to all of those needs. And we try to do our best in remediating is the damage that poverty has often inflicted on these families before they've received any kind of services or care from us. So we want to pay close attention to that.
So do you help women enroll in subsidy programs, and how is it? Because, for example, when we see that in Texas, one of the it's extremely difficult to even enroll in a program such as SNAP, and especially with lowering benefits. So how can you share with us how the program helps women enroll in programs that already exist?
Yes, so that's a high priority for us. And we have a coordinator. It's myself and a coordinator that run this program. It's Sandy Johnson, who's our coordinator. She's critical in our whole operation because she's doing a lot of that case management component for our families. So we walk them through that process. We have great working relationships with our county caseworkers. We're working with all of the women in terms of making sure they're fulfilling all of their requirements for subsidies. And we walk them through that process so that they understand what's going to be expected of them and they can meet those goals and those demands. So what we do the whole way through from the start to finish of our program is ensuring that our families not only have access and are aware of what those subsidies are, but they can maintain them while they're with us. So the case manager is an absolutely crucial element to our program. And because we're so involved, we truly are with our families all the way through. We're able to help them navigate those systems, which you are correct. They're really challenging and sometimes pretty circuitous. We want to make sure that they know what they're doing and what's going to be expected so that they can remain on them. So it's obviously going to be a challenge. Regulations change all the time. It's our job to stay ahead of that and making sure our families are informed of what they're going to be needing to do.
I read this amazing story about one of your graduates. I believe her name was Asia Thompson. Would you like to share her story with our audience?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Asia Thompson is just remarkable human being and exceptional in her success. But I think it's because of her hard work and knowing that she had an opportunity and a dream and a goal. She came from a homeless program in New Jersey known as Homefront, where she connected from Homefront to our program. And she not only fled a domestic violence situation, but she came with her car and 2 children. And really what Asia has done is worked so tremendously hard, gone through Misericordia University's Women with Children program, graduated at the top of her class, and then she really dreamt of becoming a lawyer, becoming an attorney. And so she, in fact, went on to New York Law School and completed her law degree and is now a practicing attorney in the state of New Jersey, while her 2 children, are both Zaire and KK, are also extremely successful and moving forward in their educations as well. So it's the reality of what we do as a community at Misericordia, what we do as a program, but then also the hard work, the dedication, and the perseverance of all of our families. But she's become a huge advocate for food insecurity issues. She's been a huge advocate. She actually spoke with Secretary of Agriculture Vilsack at one point and was on Capitol Hill and with the Center for American Progress. We did a StoryCorps collection and she was featured in that. So she's been a huge advocate and a major voice for not only SNAP, but also domestic violence and surviving these situations. And, you know, it's a true story, you know, so it's truly inspirational. And she's just one amazing example of the women and the families that come through our program and surpass all expectations and go on to succeed and make a huge impact.
And, and what people don't realize is when you do that and when you help one family like that get back on their feet and become that, how many more are you preventing from falling into that? We see this a lot, especially in inner city DC, where if given a chance, given that same sort of um, it's not a handout, but a hand up, I guess that's the saying.
Yes.
And you're teaching someone to fish instead of just giving them a fish. So, and these are all perhaps traditions from a lot of our faith tradition. I know my faith tradition teaches that, and Sisters of Mercy, that is a faith tradition. So that's something very in common, is that you're building a community there. You're building, when you build up one family, you're building up a community. Otherwise, where would these so many foster children, you could be stopping someone from ending up on drugs, on being molested on the street. There's just so much harm that you're preventing by just providing a safe place for young people to, especially with children, young women, especially with children, to be allowed to study. And a lot of people who might be watching this, perhaps from other countries around the world, might think, wow, this happens in the United States too, because the way the image that is portrayed around the world is that the United States is paved with gold and everything is really, there's no poverty. Why would you need that here? But can you speak about a little bit about, and this is by your specialty, about the poverty rates in the United States and how they've been increasing in the past decade?
Right. Well, and that's it. The reality is you have more people are falling into poverty every day. And with the pandemic has really pushed even more people. When you look at women alone, I mean, with the job loss rate at like 5.4 million job loss, I mean, 1 million more than men. I mean, the reality is you have so many people who are already struggling and now they're struggling more. And so poverty is a real thing. And, even in this region where I'm located, the largest demographic of families living in poverty are single mother households. So when you see this trend and it's replicating nationally, that's what's trending. And women of color primarily too, single moms of color who are really struggling and not really able to find a way out, sustainably out. And so by doing this, by really paying attention and weighing in on these rates and these trends that are highlighted by, I think the pandemic really ripped the lid over the reality of what was already going on. It just proliferated itself. It became more apparent because you see more people struggling. How is that single mother working and caring for a child that has to stay at home? How are they negotiating this? You see how they fall through the crack immediately. So when we talk about the vulnerabilities of poverty and what we can really do as a sustainable solution, I think we have to pay attention to this. In the United States, this is the truth, So when you have millions of people who are impacted and we virtually don't have systems that are integrated enough to serve them, they fall through all these multiple types of cracks. And so then how do we bring this back together with those fine points and knowing that we have to collaborate more. Our systems have to integrate and collaborate more in order to create that sustainable solution. There isn't one way to do it. So I think we do have to pay attention to that. And the bottom line is too, what you were mentioning before, the number one feature of how a child will thrive in their lifetime is the level of education of the mother. That is a very important thing to know. So the more we're educating women and the more we're helping them forward, we're by proxy, we're helping their child as well. And what we're finding, at least from our program, is that the women who graduated in the early 2000s, their children are now college graduates themselves.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
when you see that, the
Cycle.
trend, and that we're breaking that cycle of intergenerational poverty, like we're really doing it. We say we're doing it 2 generations at a time. And that's the reality. These children see college as a real opportunity because their mom saw it first and took it. So, it changes the whole trajectory, not only of the mom's life, but also of that of the children. And our hope is that will be the legacy, that we are shifting this. And I think a pandemic invites us all to ask ourselves, what can the paradigm shift be? What can we really do and really to make a difference? I think education is going to be a major part of closing that gap.
Definitely. I do have one question. So, is there any space for fathers in this? Is there any, especially in the homes? There might be single mothers, but who might have separated and might not be in abusive situation, but might have separated from the fathers. So, could you share that with us?
Right. So for our program, we focus exclusively on single moms, mainly because that's where we saw the greatest need and that we could actually provide the services. I think a lot of it is just limited to funding. If we had more funding, it would be great to open a program for single fathers too, who are living in poverty. I do believe that what we need to look in the atmosphere, the reality is women far outweigh men in terms of this scenario, yet we still need to pay attention. Single parents are out there. Single parents, mothers and fathers need support. And we need to, as you were talking earlier, we need to create scalable solutions that are going to help men and women succeed. And I believe that's where higher education could really lean in a lot more deeply with this. So certainly there are programs out there that are helping single parents throughout the United States, and they're doing elements of these types of things. But to do the full comprehensive package, I think we need to do more. And frankly, I hope for more. I think that's going to be something else to consider going forward as well.
Yes, and this is something, when you look at student debt in the country and thousands and millions of people struggling to pay back and just inundated by bills, and then to have this yet another layer, it pushes you over the edge at times. And there's so many people who are just struggling with student debt, and people give up their dreams. They give up wanting to be who they wanted to be or study what they wanted to study because of student debt, and especially women just to hold. Some of them are pulling 2 jobs and to pay back that debt. This is something, and when you look at how much money, again, I'm going to say this, is in this country, that is in these trust funds or whatever, each university has these gigantic, and it's not being used. It's not being used. What is the point? And that is something that I definitely want to ask our audience to, where to support these programs, because it does not happen. It's not happening in these major Ivy League programs. It's going to happen at smaller places who are more connected with the community. So that is definitely something. So Katherine, I do want to ask you personally, how did you choose this pathway? With your background, you could have been having your own practice or working in some specifically around addiction. What made you choose this path?
It's funny. I think sometimes we think we're choosing a path. Sometimes I feel like it's just sort of meant to be. The path is there, and we're getting on it. But I think it really it travels back quite a while for me. My first job in the United States was to work in a maximum security penitentiary. And so I worked with inmates, And one of the biggest learning curves that I ever experienced in my life was that job. And when I decided to move on and I wanted to move more into education, the inmates, I asked them, what do you think if you had a message to kind of collectively send out there with me, what would you say? And oftentimes I was told, prevent this, prevent this life that I have now. Because you've listened to their stories and so many of them began in poverty, that, I think it really became that thread through my career where it was, I'm going to help people that I can do and make a difference and know that maybe that trajectory is going to change, that we're going to prevent these outcomes that we really should be steering away from. When we look at the realities of it, the truth of the matter is the United States has the largest population of single parent households in the world. Single mothers are here. And the reality is we need to do more for them. And so I think when I look at my career and the trajectory of it now, I think this job on some level found me and I found it in an auspicious way. It was just really like I got that pull. And I think meeting with Sister Jean Mazeros and knowing and witnessing what the impact of the Sisters of Mercy have had on so many people in their lives, I just think I was just truly driven to want to make a difference. And it's just one of those things where you start to realize what you're doing and the impact as you're doing it, and you just want to do more. And so, and the women and the children really drive this. When you see, I always say we're doing a good job when we hear the kids laughing in the backyards, when they feel happy and they're in a room doing their homework. I just think that is a remarkable experience and a remarkable thing. So, I think everything that I've done in building my career all the way through has led to this role at this time. And, I just kind of look back at it and go, I would have never have imagined that this would be the trajectory where I would be. So I'm just simply grateful for it, but that's it. Yeah.
You made an excellent point about the incarceration. And we're not only just single mothers, but we're the country with the largest percentage of people incarcerated around the globe. The most people in prison anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
So this is, and there has to be a connection, number one. Number two, a lot of anti-violence programs or when you talk about gang violence or I know we do a lot of work in the inner cities, and it's almost comes down to feed them, clothe them, house them, educate them, and you will see the violence go down. But yet instead we send more police there, we send more guns in the area, and wouldn't it be amazing to have programs like what you have offer right in some of our city centers across the country, and what difference that would make for the people who live in that area, especially women. Now, it is International Women's Day, and this is something, I just this past week, it's been a really heavy week. My team knows this as well. We've been interviewing women who have come out of such essentially concentration camps, the largest concentration camp since Nazi Germany. And this is like the genocide of the century, the crisis of the century, and hearing the oppression that they're facing, and then some of them come to this country as asylees or refugees, and then to fall into the cracks over here would be such a extremely heartbreaking thing, that you came from one sort of violence to only to fall into another pit of violence. So this is another reason why it's so important to highlight programs like yours, so this message gets out to as many of that impacted community members that can come and build their lives and not feel like, and many of them are single or widowed women who have either been some of them have suffered through wars, some of them have suffered through extreme crimes against humanity, torture, and for them to come here then and not, and again, like I was saying, so many times they believe that things are going to be so much better here, but then they're faced with sometimes reality that it's not, and they'll have to struggle here too. But I'm so grateful for your time and for being here today and sharing your thoughts with us and sharing about your program. I hope the team will share where you can apply to the university. And so walk us through if what would an ideal candidate be like for you, and what are the steps that they would need to take in order to be a part of this program?
Absolutely. So certainly you can go to the Misericordia website. Our Misericordia website houses a tab that says the Ruth Matthews Bourger Women with Children program on it. You can click on that tab and go through our entire brochure and our basic requirements. Ideally, if you're a person who's looking to achieve a 4-year college degree, we would have you apply first to Misericordia, and you go through the application. If you identify yourself as a Women with Children program candidate, the fee for admission is waived. And then from there, once they review and process your admission, you would work with us through a basic application, which we house on our website, that you can fill out. You can paper write and fill it out and mail it in, or you can send it to us as an attachment through email, and we will interview you. Right now, we're conducting virtual interviews so we can accommodate people, certainly virtually to do that. And then what we do is a 2-step process where we interview you, and then we do grant acceptances to families. So knowing that we're going to have some time for, before the fall semester, we're looking at our expansion process. We'll be able to support these 20 families by the fall, because we did have 6 women graduate actually last year through this pandemic. And I will note, we never closed, and yet we never will. So we're committed. If you want to apply to us, feel free. And then we'll answer any questions too. If you're not sure and you don't know if you're eligible, if you're not sure and you're really looking for an opportunity, if you've been in a community college, you can certainly transfer to us and complete. Say if you did 2 years, you can transfer over and do the other 2 with us and complete the 4-year degree. So there are a lot of options, but I would say I would highly encourage prospective students to contact our admissions office. Certainly contact us if they have any questions. If there's someone who wants to do a referral, you can contact us as well. And you can contact directly either through our email, or our phone numbers are listed on the web. And we would be more than happy to share that information with you. We're deeply committed. And even if you're someone who accesses us, but maybe you're not quite ready for school, but you need help, you need some case management or support services, we'll certainly do our very best to answer and provide any services or information that we can to help you out.
That's wonderful. And it looks like a beautiful campus too. And Pennsylvania is so beautiful, especially the 4 seasons. If people want to, really experience the 4 seasons, they need to be in that part of the country. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And to our audience, I hope those of you watching from across the country, you can really use and be a part of this program, just get to know it better. And, there is hope. And on this International Women's Day, here is something. We did a program earlier with a group of women who supported educational scholarships for divorced and single mothers. That was a part of the Muslim community. These are the sort of resources that we'd like to share with you, because in order to establish justice in society, equity in society, it can't happen just by us wishing it. There have to be resources placed into it, policy placed into it, just really steps that need to be taken before we see that equity and that sort of justice in the world. So thank you so much for being that a justice warrior for women, Katherine, and for being on the show. And thank you so much to our production team. They've been working throughout the weekend and last week, and I really appreciate both of them. And our intern, Miriam, thank you all for being here today, and happy International Women's Day to all of you. Let's all pray that these horrific crimes that have occurred and are occurring across the world, where women's bodies are used as a war field between states, between the oppressors, poverty, lack of education, and really make a commitment to uplift women in our lives. So thank you so much. We wanted to give a shout out to my mom and my sisters, who've always been rocks for me and helped me be who I am today. And Catherine, if you want to give a shout out to a special woman in your life, please do that now.
Same here. Happy International Women's Day to you, to my mom, to Sisters of Mercy, to all the women in the Women with Children program. Sandy Johnson, thank you.
Thank you all. And if you missed the conference yesterday, do watch it on our YouTube channel. It was unbelievably inspiring, and we will be having a follow-up town hall because there were so many questions that people had about it. So do watch out for that. I am slowly going to be transitioning in an actual studio. So the Justice for All Now show, which has been going on for almost a year now. I think we're at our first anniversary. We're going to be transitioning into a proper studio, and I'm really excited about that. And thank you all, whoever has been faithfully watching us for over a year, now. I am. Thank you to all of you for this amazing journey. And, I started off in television 20 years ago, and I never thought I'd go back. Yet I'm back here now, and it's been a blast. So thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.